In the scorching heat of southern Egypt, 500 miles away from the Great Pyramids, lies a sleeping giant. It is not a ruin, it is not a temple, it is a crime scene. This is the Aswan Quarry, the source of the red granite used in the king's chamber and the serapeum boxes. And here, still attached to the bedrock, lies the single largest stone object ever carved by human hands, the Unfinished Obelisk. We need to talk about the scale, because numbers on a screen do not do it justice. This single block of stone is 42 meters long. That is the height of a 14-story building. It weighs 1,200 tons. Let that sink in. 1,200 tons. To put that into perspective, the largest stone ever moved by modern cranes in a construction setting was around 300 tons. This object is 4 times heavier. It is heavier than 2 fully loaded Airbus A380 jets combined. If the ancients had finished it, this would have been the tallest obelisk in history. But they didn't finish it. Something went wrong. A massive crack appeared in the stone, and the project was abandoned instantly. They left it there, frozen in time. And in doing so, they left us the smoking gun. Because the unfinished obelisk is not just a big rock. It is the ultimate proof that we have no idea how they were cutting stone. Walk with me into the trench. The obelisk is surrounded by a narrow channel carved deep into the bedrock to separate the block from the mountain. When you look closely at the walls of this trench and at the surface of the obelisk itself, you see something that shouldn't exist. You don't see the marks of chisels. You don't see the scratches of saws. You see scoop marks. The rock looks like it has been scooped out with a giant spoon, the way you would scoop ice cream. The walls are covered in these beautiful, smooth, concave depressions. They are uniform. They are rhythmic. Each scoop is about the width of a human shoulder. And they continue down, layer after layer, for meters. This pattern is baffling to engineers. Granite is one of the hardest substances on Earth. It contains 55% quartz crystal. It is a 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness. You cannot scoop granite. You have to pulverize it, grind it, or cut it with diamond. Yet the pattern here suggests a tool that moved effortlessly, removing material in clean, curved sweeps. It implies a continuous motion. It implies a machine. And this is where the mainstream explanation begins to sound desperate. If you ask an official guide or read a standard textbook, they will tell you exactly how this was done. They will point to the black, round stones scattered all over the quarry. These are dolerite balls. Dolerite is a hard volcanic rock, slightly harder than granite. The official story is that thousands of workers stood in these cramped trenches, holding these heavy balls, and bashed them against the granite floor. For years. They say the workers would pound the rock, turning it into dust, millimeter by millimeter. Let's analyze the physics of this. I want you to imagine holding a 12-pound stone ball and smashing it against a solid granite floor. Now imagine doing that for 10 hours a day. The shock waves traveling up your arms would shatter your bones. The dust would destroy your lungs in weeks. But the real problem is the space. The trenches around the unfinished obelisk are narrow. Some are less than 2 feet wide. There is barely enough room for a man to stand, let alone swing a heavy stone with force. And yet, the scoop marks on the walls are perfectly rhythmic. They show no sign of struggle. Furthermore, modern experiments have tried to replicate this. Teams have tried pounding granite with dolerite balls. They managed to remove a few millimeters after hours of exhausting labor. At that rate, calculating the volume of stone removed from the obelisk trench, it would take decades of non-stop pounding just to cut the outline. And that doesn't explain the smoothness. Pounding creates a rough, pitted surface. The trench walls are smooth, almost polished. The pounding ball theory is physically impossible. It is a fairy tale invented to explain the unexplainable. It gets worse. How are they planning to lift it? Remember, this thing weighs 1,200 tons. It is lying flat in a pit. To lift it, you first have to separate it from the bedrock underneath. This means you have to cut horizontally underneath the stone. We can see the beginnings of this process. There are small test tunnels dug under the obelisk. But wait, if they were using pounding balls, how do you pound upwards? How do you lie on your back in a dark crawl space holding a heavy stone ball and smash it against the ceiling with enough force to pulverize granite? Gravity is working against you. Your body has no leverage. It is impossible. And yet, the scoop marks are there, underneath the stone. Whatever tool made these marks did not care about gravity. It did not care about leverage. It moved through the stone as if it were soft clay. This suggests a technology that we are completely blind to. Christopher Dunn, an engineer who has studied the site extensively, suggests that the tool was not impact-based. It was likely sonic or vibrational. If you vibrate quartz-rich granite at its resonant frequency, it loses its structural integrity. It becomes soft. Could the scoops be the result of a sonic device that softened the rock, allowing it to be scraped away easily? Let's assume for a moment that they miraculously finished carving it. How do you move it? We are 500 miles from Giza. The only highway is the Nile River. Mainstream historians tell us they used wooden boats. They show us diagrams of massive barges floating down the river. But do the math. To support 1,200 tons of displacement, a wooden barge would need to be the size of a modern aircraft carrier. The amount of timber required would be staggering. Egypt is a desert. They did not have vast forests of giant sequoias. They had palm trees and acacia, soft, small wood. They would have had to import entire forests from Lebanon just to build one boat for one trip. And how do you load 1,200 tons onto a wooden boat without the boat flipping over or breaking in half instantly? The stress on the hull would be catastrophic. We struggle to move 1,000 tons today on calm water with steel barges. The idea that they did this with ropes and wood is not just unlikely, it is an insult to engineering. It suggests that the ancients possessed a method of buoyancy or anti-gravity that we have lost. There is another detail at the quarry that is often overlooked. The scoop marks run vertically down the sides of the trench, but in some places they cut right through older markings. It looks like whoever was doing this work was expanding on an even older, rougher quarry. And then they stopped. The obelisk was abandoned not just because of the crack, but because the civilization collapsed. Just like the Serapeum boxes left in the hallway, the unfinished obelisk feels like a project interrupted by a cataclysm. The tools were dropped. The knowledge was lost. Later, the dynastic Egyptians, the pharaohs we know, came to this site. They saw these massive works. They tried to copy them. We see their small, crude obelisks nearby. We see their chisel marks, which look completely different from the scoop marks. They were mimicking the gods. They were trying to replicate the technology of the first time, Zep-Tepi, but they couldn't cut the 1,200-ton monsters. So they carved their names on them and claimed them, but they could never move them. The unfinished obelisk is a monument to failure, but it is also a monument to a lost capability. It sits there in the open air, mocking our history books. It tells us that there was a time when humans, or someone else, could treat granite like styrofoam. A time when weight was not an issue. A time when sound and vibration were used as tools of construction. And then the music stopped. The great machine broke down, leaving the giant sleeping in the rock. When you look at those scoop marks, ask yourself, does that look like the work of a slave with a stone ball? Or does it look like the track of a machine? The evidence is right in front of us. We just need the courage to see it. What do you think really cut the unfinished obelisk? Was it sonic technology, or is there another explanation? Let me know your theory in the comments below.